Slide 16.
Comparative Analysis of ESG Frameworks and Standards, Part 1. At its core, the table illustrates a fundamental tension, and eventual convergence, between breadth and specificity. Frameworks such as GRI and UN SDGs operate on a universal plane, offering comprehensive coverage across environmental, social, and governance dimensions. Their strength lies in inclusivity and stakeholder orientation. GRI, established in 1997, pioneered the notion that sustainability disclosures should extend beyond financial metrics to encompass broader societal impacts. Similarly, the UN SDGs provide a normative blueprint for global development, embedding ESG considerations within macroeconomic and policy-driven contexts. However, while these frameworks excel in conceptual comprehensiveness, they often lack the precision required for investment-grade decision-making. In contrast, SASB and TCFD represent a paradigm shift toward financial materiality and investor relevance. SAB's industry-specific standards, covering 77 sectors, signal a decisive move toward quantification and comparability. It recognizes that ESG risks manifest differently across industries and therefore require tailored metrics. TCFD, established in 2015, further sharpens this focus by isolating climate-related financial risks, transition risks, physical risks, and scenario analysis, and embedding them within mainstream financial disclosures. Together, these frameworks redefine sustainability not as an ethical adjunct but as a determinant of enterprise value. This transition marks a critical inflection point. ESG is no longer peripheral, it is financially consequential. The role of CDSB and CDP complements this evolution by acting as bridging mechanisms between environmental data and financial reporting. CDSB integrates natural capital considerations into corporate disclosures, aligning environmental reporting with financial filings. CDP, through its global disclosure system, standardizes environmental data collection across companies, cities, and governments. While both are primarily environmental in orientation, their real contribution lies in institutionalizing data transparency and comparability, prerequisites for any robust ESG ecosystem. A second analytical dimension emerging from the table is the shift from voluntary frameworks to regulatory mandates. Historically, sustainability reporting was largely discretionary, driven by reputational incentives and stakeholder pressure. However, the emergence of the EU's CSRD and EU taxonomy marks a decisive transition toward mandatory ESG disclosure regimes. The CSRD significantly expands the scope, depth, and assurance requirements of sustainability reporting, while the EU taxonomy introduces a classification system that defines what constitutes environmentally sustainable economic activity. This dual mechanism, disclosure plus classification, creates a powerful regulatory architecture that not only enhances transparency but also directs capital flows toward sustainable activities. India's BRSR framework mirrors this regulatory trend within an emerging market context. By mandating ESG disclosures for the top 1,000 listed companies, BRSR aligns domestic corporate practices with global standards while accommodating local socioeconomic priorities. It reflects a broader global pattern. Jurisdictions are increasingly embedding ESG into legal and regulatory frameworks, thereby reducing reliance on voluntary compliance. Another critical insight pertains to the integration of sustainability with finance and capital allocation. Frameworks such as UNPRI, IFC, and the Equator Principles operate at the intersection of ESG and investment decision-making. UNPRI mobilizes institutional investors to incorporate ESG factors into portfolio management, thereby influencing capital markets from within. IFC and its performance standards extend this logic into development finance, ensuring that projects funded by international institutions adhere to stringent environmental and social safeguards. The Equator Principles further institutionalize this approach within project finance, making ESG risk assessment a prerequisite for funding large-scale infrastructure and industrial projects.